Hey, everybody, want to welcome you to our show today, Real Talk with Pastor Ben Graham. And I'm glad you're here with us today. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's been amazing how quick 2023 happened, and 2024 is taking off with a bang. We got a lot of great things happening this year in our ministry, and I hope to continue to bring great guests to our show. And today is no exception. We've got a really good guest lined up, and I can't wait to share that with you. But I just want to talk to you for a minute. It's easy. If you're like me, I watch the news or I listen to the news, I read the news. I can get very frustrated very quick. It seems like common sense is out the window. It seems like manners is gone. There's so many people who, you read about or you see these stories of people just being rude, people being crazy, weird, all kinds of just things happening that it disappoints me to think our society has got to this place. Now, on a spiritual level, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we as a nation, we've wandered away from God and biblical values and principles and morals, and I think it's important we get back to Scripture, and to love our neighbor as ourselves, and to love the Lord God with all your heart, and all those things that the Bible tells us we're to do. The Bible even tells us where to pray for our enemies and to pray for those who misuse you and all those things. And yet we've become a society where if somebody looks at us cross-eyed, we not only want to look at them cross-eyed, but then we want to do even more to them. And people walk around almost like they have a chip on their shoulder, just ready to explode, and they're frustrated and all that. And I look at what's going on, and I think about the mess that we're in today. And, I want to first off encourage every person who's watching this to determine, you and I can determine that we're going to do things differently. We're going to have a good attitude. We're going to be kind to people. We're going to help people. And I know there's a lot of people that walk around with a chip on their shoulder. They're just looking for something to explode and get mad about. And yet I find that oftentimes saying a kind word, greeting somebody, opening a door for somebody, just being kind goes a long way in seeing people be kind back. Now, I live in an area in Tennessee where people are generally friendly to everybody. Even strangers are friendly to everybody, and I'm thankful for that. I know if you live in certain places, some of the bigger cities like New York or Chicago, or maybe in certain areas, people aren't unkind anymore. I hear that all the time. Where I live, people are they're not friendly at all, is what they'll tell me. And I know it's a little more difficult, but one of the things you can do is just start with showing some kindness and being kind to people. Sometimes when you're on the interstate or you're on the road and you're driving and people are cutting you off and they're being rude, it just seems like everybody has a me first attitude. Sometimes you got to go out there just and have a different attitude. Determine, I'm going to let somebody go in front of me today. I'm going to let somebody else be more important than my own schedule. And sometimes we've got to do that, and show some kindness. You never know when you're at a place of business. I've gotten frustrated with this before. I'll be at a place of business and, the cashier or whoever working there doesn't say, thank you, have a good day or something. And I might say to my wife, man, that's so rude. Why wouldn't they? I'm a customer. They ought to be thankful I'm here. And yet sometimes we don't know what that person's going through. And I've found that when I'm able to just show some kindness to them, it changes their attitude. Now, not always, but many times it does. And maybe we'll say, hey, thank you so much. Have a good day. And all of a sudden, a little smile will come on their face. And so I want to encourage you with that. We need to be kind. And today we're going to talk a little bit about this. You're going to catch something in this episode today from our guest. And he's going to talk about a protocol in how we help people who maybe have been on the opposite side of where we are, who we're definitely on the opposite side of where we stood. I'm talking about me personally when it comes to the jabs and all that. We're going to talk about that. And they may have been unkind and rude to us because we wouldn't get vaccinated, but it doesn't mean we have to return the favor and being unkind. We can try to encourage them and help them, and hopefully help them understand the reason we were so passionate about not doing these things. It's not about us trying to be right or wrong. It's about us being safe and about them being safe. And, if we're truly good people, we don't want anybody to die a premature death. We don't want them to have to suffer. And so we were trying to get the word out. And so we're going to talk about that today. But before I introduce my guest, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. for sponsoring this episode. I so appreciate our great sponsors, and they are so awesome. We definitely appreciate them. But let me introduce our guest, and he's got an amazing bio. I want to read a little bit about this. Today we have Dr. Peter McCullough, who is a cardiologist and epidemiologist holding degrees from Baylor University and the University of Texas Southwestern Medical School, University of Michigan, and Southern Methodist University. He manages common infectious diseases as well as the cardiovascular complications of both the viral infection and the injuries developing after the COVID-19 vaccines. He's in Dallas, Texas. Dr. McCullough has broadly published on a range of topics in medicine with 1,000 publications and 685 citations in the National Library of Medicine. His work includes pathopsychological basis and rationale for early outpatient treatment of SARS, of COVID-2, COVID-19 infectious, the first widely utilized treatment regimen for ambulatory patients infected with SARS in the American Journal of Medicine. And he also has a great protocol for those who have dealt with issues from COVID-19 and the vaccine injury syndromes that come from that. He has dozens of peer-reviewed publications on the infection and has commented extensively on the medical response to the COVID-19 crisis in The Hill, America Out Loud, and on Fox News Channel, and so on. He has tested multiple times in the U.S. Senate, the European Parliament, Texas Senate, Committee on Health and Human Services, Arizona Senate, and House of Representatives, the Colorado General Assembly, New Hampshire Senate, Pennsylvania Senate, and the South Carolina Senate concerning many aspects of the pandemic response. And so Dr. McCullough is doing some amazing things. I'm sure you've heard of him. He is leading amongst all the physicians in taking a stand, not only against the COVID vaccine, but in helping people who've went through this, and many doctors seek Dr. McCullough's help in this. And so we're so glad to have Dr. Peter McCullough with us today. Glad to have Dr. Peter McCullough with us today. Thank you so much for joining me today on this show. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So, there's, it's interesting because this day and time in which we live, a lot of things have changed. When you talk about before COVID, the medical world especially, a lot of things have changed. A lot of doctors began to experiment, change their mind on certain aspects of treatment. Having gone through both having a heart attack and battling cancer twice myself, I have a lot of friends that are good medical doctors, a lot of friends on the holistic side of things. A lot of things have changed. But I want to go back for you. What was really kind of a changing point for you in maybe what you originally traditionally thought was the route to go, and have you changed in some areas of treatment?
I've clearly changed. I've evolved over time. Now I'm a conventional allopathic doctor, a medical specialist, internist, and cardiologist in practice here in Dallas. But I think for me, a real inflection point was in March of 2020, when I realized my colleagues were not going to treat COVID. They were not going to help patients avoid hospitalization and death. And it was shocking to see what happened, to see patients contract the illness, high-risk patients, not get any treatment, making desperate calls, and then being resigned in the end to hospitalization, which was so uncomfortable and so isolating and forlorning. And then sadly, when people died, they died in the hospital. Nearly all the American lives lost due to COVID were in the hospital.
It's amazing. When I went through in 2020, we found a mass on my right kidney. Of course, I had met you at a couple of events. I think it might have actually been after that, but had met you. I had some friends who had been in the traditional side of medicine, but had started looking for some alternatives in certain aspects. But when I went through this in 2020, they found the mass, began to kind of pray and seek what we were going to do, and looking at every avenue. One of the things that I noticed was, when I went to to visit with the doctors. The hospitals had kind of started shutting down, preparing for this, this big emergency that nobody really for sure knew what to do with. At that time, I was still involved with the faith team at the White House. And so, I was getting a lot of reports from there, of what was being said, what was being done. But one of the things that I noticed was, my oncologists quickly, jumped on the bandwagon with so many, hey, listen, because you've gone through some health issues, you need to get vaccinated. And, that was kind of originally the conversation. And I had a good conversation with her and told her why I didn't feel comfortable with it. One of the things that's awesome now is her stance not only has completely changed, but she's left the oncology where she was working at to pursue more a medicine in the way she feels is the right path. There has been a lot of medical professionals who made that decision, and many of them, especially early on, was ostracized from the from that world. But would you say, are you seeing the numbers of doctors and nurses that are maybe stepping away from more of the traditional route, or what they're being told from these hierarchies? Do you see that more people exiting now over the last year than even maybe in 2020?
The big division was who took the vaccine and who didn't. So about 4% of American doctors didn't take the vaccine, and they have made changes and changed positions, etc. Many have grown into prominence. A real premium is an unvaccinated doctor. People remember, a doctor who took the vaccine is now a patient. They're no longer a doctor, they're a patient. And now they have their own worries about what's wrong in their body, and they can't be objective. I can be objective on kidney cancer because I don't have kidney cancer. It's very important. Once doctors have the problem, they lose their objectivity. So yeah, we've seen this interesting. We've seen that naturopathic, holistic, integrative doctors, particularly those independent of hospitals and health systems, they really stepped up. Although the top of the integrative, holistic, naturopathic medicine worlds, they all endorse the vaccines, by the way. There's only one professional organization that from the very beginning did not endorse the vaccine in the United States. It's the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. And that's usually the top medical graduates who are independent practitioners. It's only AAPS is the only group. So all the other groups, even though I give a lot of credit to my naturopathic colleagues, at the top, they were in the orthodoxy, even worse than the rest of it. The nurses, they were all in on it. And they all quickly became vaccine patients. They took the vaccine. Now they have their worries. It's almost as if everybody took Vioxx. And now we've discovered issues with Vioxx. And they say, oh, there's no problems here. They're all taking Vioxx. They don't want to face the problems that exist with the vaccine. But as a cancer patient, boy, did you make the right decision. Now, recent papers published by Anguis and Bustillo. This is shocking. The COVID vaccines have met what's called the multi-hit hypothesis of oncogenesis. And this was published in the PubMed peer-reviewed listed journal, Curious. And the vaccines have been shown, the messenger RNA impairs DNA repair. Chinese showed that. The spike protein produced by the vaccines in large quantities, the S2 segment, which occurs with the vaccine, not with the infection. So the S2 segment impairs tumor suppressor systems P53 and BRCA or BRCA. And then the last shoe to drop was DNA found in the vials, actually process-related impurities, the little fragments of DNA that come off the plasmids in E. coli that's used to code for the messenger RNA, the simian virus SV40 promoter enhancer and origin of insertion fragments. So now we've got 3 different mechanisms by which the vaccines would either cause cancer in somebody susceptible or actually make cancer worse in somebody who already has the diagnosis.
It's amazing. My wife and I, our oldest son, he was serving in the military at that time, and of course they began to mandate the soldiers get vaccinated. And I don't fault anybody for the first few weeks being nervous and afraid. It was unknown. We didn't know what was going to happen. What I do fault is people being naive. And so many people went along because this is what they were told to do without doing any research or whatever. my wife and I, we have 4 boys, and our oldest son, quickly, said he wasn't going to get the shot. And of course, my wife and I determined not to get one either. But our son at this point, he's an adult. He can choose, and if he wants our advice, we'll give it to him. But he talked to his base commander, who he worked hand in hand with, and he said, "We're with you. We're standing with you. We're not going to either." But it wasn't long till the military started really cracking down and told him, "You got to get it." And my son refused, and he was one that was booted out of the military for not getting vaccinated. Now we look back and we see God used that. He opened up, started his own company called Old US Outdoor. He's one of the sponsors for our show and just has done exceptional. But what we're finding is so many of these leaders in the military, if you talk to them, now they might not publicly go on record, but privately they're all saying, "I wish I would have never done this." And it seems like most everybody is coming to the realization this was dumb to have rushed into doing this, except for we still have a lot of doctors who are just swearing by it, saying, no problem at all, when in reality they know there is. And we're seeing doctors who are dropping dead, or having major complications from it. What is it going to take to get some of these doctors and some of these bigger medical companies to truly admit, what is going on, and the fact that this was not a good idea?
It took 40 years for doctors to recognize, from the time it was known, 40 years to recognize smoking caused lung cancer. Doctors were advertising cigarettes. They were fully into the tobacco lobby. They were smoking during surgery. 40 years. 20 years to recognize the opioid pandemic and the problems with oxycodone. 20 years. And it goes on and on. It's going to take a long time. The doctors took these shots. They essentially forced it on their patients. They caused harm. This is going to take decades. And believe me, there's going to be efforts to cover this up, to whitewash it, to deny it, not mention it. The average doctor doesn't even want to talk about COVID. They want to pretend the vaccines don't exist. My son just graduated from medical school down at UT Houston, and I went to graduation in May. His class was, at the beginning, middle, and end of the pandemic. They unprecedented lockdowns and cancellations and things. At the graduation ceremony, all the different speeches, not a single mention of COVID or the vaccines, as if they didn't exist.
Are you searching for financial wisdom rooted in timeless principles? Then look no further. Kirk Elliott Financial Wealth Advisor Firm is the best blend of biblical insights with expert financial guidance to navigate the stormy waters of an economic uncertainty. Kirk Elliott, renowned for his financial acumen, is your trusted guide through these turbulent times. With years of experience and a passion for biblical principles, Kirk brings clarity and purpose to every financial decision. Whether you're facing market fluctuation or seeking to align your wealth with your values, Kirk Elliott has the answers you need. No matter your background or experience, Kirk's approach is both approachable and effective. He'll help you understand how to protect your assets and make wise investments while staying true to your beliefs. When you go with Kirk Elliott, you can be confident that your finances are in capable hands. Just mention my name, Pastor Ben Graham, and they'll take care of you at his firm. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Tune in to the Kirk Elliott Financial Wealth Advisory Firm podcast and equip yourself with the tools to make informed decisions in today's unpredictable world. Embrace biblical finances and embark on a journey towards prosperity and financial peace of mind. Subscribe now to Real Talk with Pastor Ben Graham podcast and get ready to thrive amidst an economic uncertainty. Remember, when you go with Kirk Elliott, you're choosing financial wisdom rooted in biblical principles. Take the first step towards a brighter financial future today.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're seeing a lot of silence versus actually just admitting, hey, and it's sad because, they're at the same time, we know that they're getting ready for whatever the next thing is they're going to push. And I hope people are waking up. Of course, I was disappointed with the election in 2020. I was disappointed in so many things. it's just hard for me to believe there wasn't some fraudulence in there. I remember Eric Trump and I having a conversation about a particular county in Pennsylvania that so flipped overnight, it just didn't make sense. And so I was disappointed in the election. I was disappointed in how we reacted with COVID. At the same time, I look back and I see a lot of positive things from this. I think some people have woke up. I think some people have gotten engaged. I see some people involved. It's funny, when I went through my uh, going through my cancer, I had my son's father-in-law, Sean, was in town. They live in Arizona, and he goes, "Hey, I've got something I want to share with you." And this is sometimes when you're going through health issues, why I don't always like to talk about it publicly, because you get 9 million things sent your way about what you should do and all that. And I know people generally care, and I say that I appreciate that they care. But sometimes it can be overwhelming. But he starts talking to me. He goes, "There's this guy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Dr. Peter McCullough." And I started laughing. I was like, "Not only have I heard of him," I said, I know him well, and I go to Dallas every month to meet with a group of CEOs who are trying to expand and open up places that people can go that aren't woke. Whether it be banking or media or whatever. And the particular studio we meet at, AFN, I know you do filming there with Josh, but what I think has been so neat, in spite of all this, is and I go back to the verse that says, that all things work together for good. God can take bad, turn it into good. I see some things that are good in that people are waking up. When you're talking to people, and I know you do a lot of interviews, you do a lot of speaking, what is the thing that seems to resonate with people most about just waking up to the reality of this is the world that we live in? And whether intentionally or unintentionally, we have a government who has definitely tried to force things on us that are very dangerous for us, not just as a nation, but to our health itself. What are some things that you're saying to help people with that?
I see most powerfully if people were personally harmed, either with being denied early treatment or with the vaccines, or if they know somebody, or sadly, if they know somebody passed away. It's all about personal experience. I really do. And we have to get people to talk and start saying this, "Oh, well, yeah, yeah." Like I had a patient today, his 93-year-old mother died in a facility with COVID. He couldn't see her at the end, undertreated. It's really important. I had somebody in my office last week, a visitor from Canada, younger woman, and she had taken 5 vaccines. She had actually never heard that there's anything wrong with the vaccines, that there were any safety problems. And I could tell as I started talking to her and just kind of introducing the topic, then she said, I kind of wondered if they were safe. And then she started, and she took down information. She was going to follow me. And there's another person now who's enlightened. There are people to this day, because the censorship has been so effective, particularly in places like Canada, Australia, Europe, New Zealand, where they actually don't know. They actually really don't know. There are some people in the medical orthodoxy that go to these big academic medical centers. They're in these medical schools. They're not very close to patient care, and they simply don't know. I can tell you another example. I asked my son, I said, "Well, what are they doing at Texas Medical Center with all this myocarditis and blood clots? It's just pouring in." He said, "I'll tell you one thing. Starting with the nurses, the students, the interns, the residents, the fellows, and the attendings, no one mentions the vaccine. It's not recorded. There's no mention of it. It's just, oh, here's a young person with a blood clot. Here's a young person with a cardiac arrest." And it's in the medical record, there's no mention of the vaccine.
Hey, I want to thank our sponsors, Old US Outdoor. Listen, I love the products that they have. I also love that it's a veteran-owned company, and most importantly, it's my son's company. I want you to go to their website, check them out. You'll not be disappointed with the apparel and the special gift that you get in every package that they send out. Old US Outdoor.
It's amazing to me that with all the media, even social media and platforms out there, how well mainstream media has been able to subvert so much of the truth. And I know there was a lot of doctors. I'm not familiar, and I don't remember where we met at, it was at one of the events, and I don't know if it was like maybe I did some events like the Truth About Cancer and some others. I don't remember where it was at, but there was a bunch of those for a while that I was involved in, and not because of the cancer side, but more just being as a pastor, being somebody that was willing to speak out, and we kept our church doors open and some of those things. But what I found was so many of these freedom fighting doctors and pastors, whoever it might be, we're all kind of faced with the same thing. We were being suppressed through a lot of the mainstream social media platforms and all that. What's kind of been your most effective tool in getting the message out for you in sharing these truths, and what do you feel like is connecting most with people?
You remember that second Matrix movie where Keanu Reeves, he plays Neo, and in that scene, there's one scene where he's fighting Mr. Anderson, these kind of fake guys, and the Mr. Anderson people keep multiplying and multiplying and multiplying, and it's at one point in time he's fighting off probably 1,000 people simultaneously. You probably remember that scene.
Yep.
Sometimes I feel like Neo. I just feel like I'm fighting off thousands, but it's a matter of being consistent, and it's just more of it. So, you mentioned former President Trump. I have more media time than he does. If you count up the media hours and the screen time hours, national TV, podcasts, whatever I'm bigger than Trump. I've been on Daystar 5 times with reruns. Each time I go on Daystar, it's 1.7 billion views. Billion with the B. I set all the records on Joe Rogan. That was only 160 million. We're talking 1.7 billion. So, what works is just quantity, exposure, consistency. I've been very clear on this. I'm treating patients. I'm one of the most published people in COVID in the world now. People say, well, I'm not an infectious disease expert. Well, I am now in COVID. I've done way more than a fellowship. I have the most testimony in U.S. Senate, all the state houses. I've been very clear. I haven't just complained. I've brought solutions. I published the very first and most widely used treatment protocol in the world, McCullough treatment protocol for acute COVID. Now I've brought forward the first detoxification protocol for people who've taken the vaccine. Again, published, peer-reviewed, widely deployed now. So it's a matter of people look to, who are the doctors who are honest? Who are the ones who actually have the guts to stand up to whatever this narrative is, whatever it's coming from? Then lastly, who's bringing solutions? And so I filled the gaps there. I know other people have tried to help out, but so many of the doctors who spoke up, they're not practicing doctors. They're not academically accomplished. Many sadly are retired or they've been marginalized. And so in many ways, I stand alone, right? So I'm on Twitter, I'm the most followed doctor account of doctors who see patients, as an example. And to give you a frame of reference, an average professor of medicine would have 25 listings in the National Library of Medicine in terms of peer-reviewed publications. I'm coming up on 700. I mean, that's more than anybody at the FDA, more than anybody you'd see in any realm. So when I talk about data, I know about data because I've published the most, I've reviewed the most. When I know about, say, talk about drug safety, I've chaired, over 24 data safety monitoring boards for clinical trials. I've lectured at the FDA, European Medicine Agencies, New York Academy of Sciences. The entire world knew me before COVID. So when COVID hit, I was a very strong voice. And to this day, I've never had someone of my standing disagree with me. I've never had a chief of medicine call me up and say, I disagree, these are really good vaccines. No one. Not even an email or text. Complete silence.
Well, one thing I'm curious to know, so obviously, and I love that you've been used to reach the masses through the media and all that. And I think it's important. We need voices of not just reason, but voices of understanding. There's a scripture verse that says, God's people will perish for lack of knowledge. And I have a new book coming out in February called Ignorance and Apathy, 2 of America's Deadliest Sins, because, to be honest, so many people are apathetic or they're just ignorant. They don't care. And I think it's important to know that. But we have to have a source of where we can get the wisdom from. Now, as a believer, I go to God's word, but when it comes to this medical stuff, what is the source? And a lot of people, I think, who maybe there's somebody watching who they're on the other side. They said, you know what, I got suckered in, I got the vaccine. Maybe they even did the first 2 rounds or whatever before they woke up. What do you say to them when they go, I'm greatly concerned because I have been vaccinated? What's the best protocol for me in, making sure that I can do all I can not to have the side effects? What's your recommendation? Where do you have them go to? Where do they start?
Boy, in the last week, I probably saw half a dozen doctors. So believe me, they're coming in and they have personal concerns over the vaccines, family concerns. Many of the ones I see now were vaccinated against their will. So they really didn't like it. They didn't think it was a good idea, but they felt forced into taking it, that they were going to lose their job. So, well, I guess the first point is, if there's a proposition, lose your life or lose your job, you got to decide. To me, it's pretty easy. Lose the job and get a better job. I just, again, people say, well, I did it because of this. And it's like, listen, it's a long life out there. If someone said, put a gun to your head so you can stay in the military, are you going to do that? No, you're going to leave the military and you get a better job. And so they felt forced into it. I do a thorough history and physical. If there's any cardiovascular, EKG, ultrasound, we do advanced blood testing to look for heart damage, give us inferences on blood clots, try to figure out the lay of the land. Most of it comes from the history and physical exam. We do measure the extended LabCorp assay for antibodies against the spike protein. Shortly, we'll use the in vitro gene assay to measure spike protein directly. And then for most people who've been exposed, either multiple rounds of COVID or the vaccine, we recommend McCullough protocol base spike detoxification. This is, again, a breakthrough published in 2 peer-reviewed papers in the Journal of American Physicians and Surgeons and in the PubMed listed journal, Curious, and myself as first author. And based on our clinical experience and what exists in the medical literature now, preclinical and clinical trials, 3 substances are advised. And actually, it turns out they're natural products. You'd love this since you're interested in this. Nattokinase, derived from the fermentation of soy by a bacteria called Bacteria Bacillus subtilis natto. So nattokinase is a capsule, but it is a form of an enzyme. It breaks down the spike protein in intact cells and cell lysate models. It's a form of a blood thinner. It actually dissolves micro blood clots, which is very, very favorable. It's a cardiovascular supplement. The Japanese have been using it for blockages, heart blockages, and carotid artery blockages for decades now. So it's safe. So that's on board, natto. The next one is bromelain, which is derived from the stems of pineapples. It's also an enzyme, breaks up spike protein in a different way. So that's in. It's also a blood thinner. It raises the prothrombin time. And then lastly is curcumin. Curcumin is farthest along randomized trials in humans, derived from turmeric. We combine it with piperine for super absorption. So nattokinase, 2,000 units twice a day, bromelain, 500 milligrams once a day, and curcumin, 500 milligrams twice a day. That's McCullough protocol base spike detoxification. It's now the most widely used approach worldwide. And this happened very quickly. We've published our first paper about 6 months ago. We've been working on this well over a year. We don't have large randomized prospective double-blind placebo-controlled trials. We need about 20,000 patients in each group. We don't have that. We have the experience of treating probably several thousand people now. And our direct observation implies that it takes a long time, but people do get better. These neurologic syndromes get better. Blood clots resolve. Chest pain and palpitations, what's called POTS, that improves. And I've held calls with doctors in the UK. They're observing the same thing. Our colleagues here in the United States. We just tell patients, listen, it takes time. We're starting in a low dose. We can easily double doses if there's no side effects. But again, we can make no therapeutic claims. The Biden administration has spent over $1 billion on long COVID, not a single new product, not a single drug or protocol. And with nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin, there are no clinical trials even planned. A clinical trial, soup to nuts, probably 5 to 20 years. People don't have 5 to 20 years. They got blood clots now. They've had heart damage, neurologic problems. And so, listen, this is a proposal, and it is one where it's really based on kind of careful science and clinical experience. Now, the World Council for Health has published a list of things to try. Fine. And so has FLCC, a list of things to try. But the problem is the spike protein. It's found in the heart, the brain, the adrenal glands. We have to start with a base combination that dissolves the spike protein because human enzymes can't get rid of it. The spike protein is in the bloodstream for 6 months after the shot or longer. It's obvious the human body cannot dispose of this. We need to clear it from the body. That's what's proposed. Then other things can be added. People say, well, what about N-acetylcysteine? Fine, add it to it. What about a nicotine patch? Fine. What about other drugs to improve symptoms? Fine. But have the base be nattokinase, bromelain, and curcumin.
So let's go back just for a minute. When you were younger, um, when did you decide that you wanted to go into the medical field? And what was kind of the reason behind you going into that direction?
Yeah, I think I wanted to go into medicine the day I was born. I didn't look at any other career opportunity. I love science. I love the ability to help people. It was a wonderful combination. Doctors are among the most esteemed people in society. They clearly are the most educated. We have to pass more tests, more rigor. We have a tougher, professional development pathway than even people in the military. That means we spend more time, sleepless nights, more. It's actually physically harder than being in the military because we just have to have so much endurance. Now, the training requirements have changed, so it's a little bit easier. But my son's a resident right now, and he's held to an 80-hour work week. I was at about 120, 125, 128. I mean, I've talked to Navy SEALs. I said, what's the toughest thing you ever did? I said, well, I had to stay awake for 3 days in the woods and figure out a compass or something. I said, listen, why don't you try that for 6 years? I mean, it's night and day. So, being a doctor is the kind of the roughest, toughest thing you can do. What we've seen now is we've seen a giant failure of the medical community. And I think doctors are going to have a long way to go before they get back into being this esteemed, revered specialty.
Hey, I want to thank our sponsor, Cardio Miracle. And let me just tell you, I'm not just telling you about this product. It's a product that me and my family take. We love it. I love sharing it with other people. I love sharing it to my doctor friends who take a look and they say, oh, this looks okay. And then they look at the ingredients. They're like, wow, this is impressive. Then they try it. And not only do they love it, but they're subscribing it and encouraging their patients to take it. I'm telling you, you got to try Cardio Miracle. Go to their website, check out the link. You'll not regret it. Cardio Miracle.
Do you think there's going to be a shortage of people going into the medical profession based on some of the things that happened over the last couple of years with forcing doctors and nurses to maybe do certain things? And of course, not even counting COVID, there's been a lot more, it seems like onslaught against doctors and nurses over certain cases that we've seen. But do you feel like that's affecting the numbers any right now?
No, I mean, the talent is ubiquitous. There's still far more applications than there are spots. U.S. residencies that are premium. Now, we have a lot of foreign doctors that used to come over. That pipeline is nearly shut off now. We have, about a third of doctors are Indians, and those from Middle East. And that's from prior years where there were more residency spots than U.S. graduates. Now the U.S. graduates are filling those spots. It's very, very tight. People want to go into medicine. I think if there were current vaccine mandates, that would take a lot of interest away. Now, recently in Texas, we had Senate Bill 7 get passed. Medical schools, private employers, hospitals, they can't mandate the vaccines. Or if they do, they have to pay a really hefty fine. So where my son went was at UT Houston, their hospital's Memorial Hermann. They very reluctantly, December 15th, dropped their mandate.
So does it change though if we start maybe pursuing medicine and running our medical establishment like Canada or somewhere like that? I know up there it seems like there has been, at least in the past, I know there's been a shortage. There's so much more red tape there. Does that change things? I guess the question is, can we overregulate what they're doing? Obviously, we want safety, but in the medical world, can we overregulate? What can make things healthier for doctors and nurses to truly be able to treat people without fear of everything they doing being a potential lawsuit?
I think one of the factors that has taken a lot of the interest out of medicine is called the corporatization of medicine, this kind of mass employment of doctors. by hospitals. In Texas, a hospital is not supposed to directly employ a doctor. So they do a backdoor way of having a health system employ a doctor's group and a parent operating group. But I think doctors being completely independent would be very desirable. Get back to just like dentists are independent and others, the naturopathic doctors are independent. And what we found out is the independent doctors, they didn't have to take a vaccine, and boy, are they looking a lot better. I'm a completely independent doctor now. I used to be an employed professor of medicine. But I can tell you, I think that's one aspect of it that's very important. Medicine can be overregulated, but the interest in going into medicine is still very high. People are naturally competitive. When you go to college and you say, what's the hardest thing you can do in college? It's largely get into medical school or veterinary school or dental school. And so people will always strive for that. And there's definitely more money to be made in investment banking or in landscaping or whatever you go into. So it's not really for the money. It's just that people love the art and science of medicine. They love to help people. It's very interesting. We don't need hobbies because our field is so interesting. But in the last 4 years have taught me that somehow the medical mind can get distorted quickly. Not treating COVID patients, letting the virus slaughter patients, having a vaccine turn around and then slaughter more patients. And now the thing that's convincing me that medicine is off the rails is the transgender crisis. It's convinced me. Every major medical center, revered medical centers, is doing gender change medicine. Puberty blockers like Lupron and androgens and estrogens that actually make the kids sick. And then these surgeries, which are disfiguring, sterilizing, complicated, irreversible. I mean, it's reprehensible that any doctor would ever consider doing this in a young person, ever. But yet Duke University and every major university had gender change programs. It's so off the rails that states like Texas had to shut it down. We actually had to shut it down by law. So you think about this. We had to shut down vaccine mandates by law because medical centers and others couldn't regulate themselves. And now we've had to shut down transgender medicine. The fact that there has to be state legal action shutting down clinical activities is proof positive that medicine is off the rails.
Hey guys, if you're looking for a great place to stay, I'm talking about a place where you can go and relax, where you can go and play disc golf, you can go out and play tennis, basketball, maybe just walk the trails, go out and check out the animals, or enjoy a top-notch first-class meal, or maybe you'd like to do a little fishing on the pond or go around the lake and canoe. Maybe you just want to get away from the hustle and bustle and get to a place that feels a little bit like heaven on earth. Then you need to go check out Whitestone Inn. It's a wonderful resort, beautiful place. It's one of my favorite places. My wife and I love going there and staying. You need to check it out, whitestoneinn.com, and get away for a little bit and get refreshed and experience what Whitestone can offer you.
Yeah, and it's amazing, how twisted, not only has our society become, but now it's creeping into the medical side of things, which, does take away from that, I think the doctor's, Hippocratic oath, which is to help people. And when you clearly look at, especially long-term with transgender, you find that so many are having ongoing issues. It's a mental health disorder. My PhD is in clinical counseling. That's what I deal with. And especially for a kid. All of us as kids had things we wanted to do, thought we could do. And had we not had parents that said, no, you can't do it, we would have been jumping off roofs thinking we could fly like Superman or whatever, and those with reasonable thought, those who've been around a little while can slow us down and say, no, that's not healthy. That's not good. And yet for some reason, the transgender thing it's becoming almost if you don't do this, you're being a bigot and just keeping people from, being able to do what they want. And we're talking about 5, 6, 7-year-olds that, at this point are, happen to be reminded they need to drink, more water and milk or whatever it might be than, soda all the time. And play outside instead of being inside all day. But let me ask you this, and I'll let this be kind of our last question. But as you've gone through these years now being in the medical field, I'm sure you've had some, even before COVID, some things have changed that maybe your interest went in and maybe you pursued learning better and all that. But at the end of your life, what is it that you hope people remember you as concerning the medical field and just your life in general? What is it you're striving to accomplish in the time that you have here on Earth to make a difference? What's your legacy piece?
I can tell you, for me, it's a very low bar. If I helped one person, it was worth it. And I professionally risked it all. And it was worth it. I didn't help one person. My work has been attributed to sparing tens of millions of lives and hundreds of millions of hospitalizations. My work in COVID-19 was the most meaningful work of my career. And prior to this, I was the most published person and accomplished person in my field in the world in history. COVID-19 was an opportunity for doctors with talent to step forward and fill the gap. I did my part. What is going to be interesting is to see who's going to step up as this great controversy plays out. What will be the first medical center to really come out and say the vaccines were bad? What will be the first country to pull the vaccines off the market? Remember, we're 3 years into this. Record injuries, disabilities, and deaths. Not a single country of 145 countries roughly will pull the products off the market. What is the gravitational force of COVID-19 vaccination where not a single country can say no?
So let me ask you this: where can folks go to follow you and really, if they want to seek you? I know there'll be people who are watching this who know of you, but who go, man, I trust Dr. McCullough. I would love to get plugged into what he's doing. Where can they go and learn more about what you're doing?
Well, thanks. I'm in practice in the DFW area as internal medicine and cardiology board certified. So my website, petermcculloughmd.com, that'll take you to my clinical practice, my podcast, America Out Loud Talk Radio, McCullough Report, my Substack, Courageous Discourse, my book, Courage to Face COVID-19. These are popular resources. I have issued thousands of reports now. They're all evidence-based. The most widely used treatment protocol, detoxification protocols that exist. And I'm doing all I can. People can tune in and listen every week on 2 p.m. Eastern to America Out Loud Talk Radio, McCullough Report. Then it's on the Apple iHeart Podcast Network. Follow me on Twitter. Got the Top Doctor account at Twitter, P_McCulloughMD, across True Social, Getter, LinkedIn, Telegram. I'm doing all I can, and I can tell you, you and I will come out on the right side of history here. We made the right decisions. We helped people when they needed it most, and that others will ultimately find the truth. They will seek us in helping them understand. And our challenge is to welcome them back into the fold without any vitriol, without any reprisal. We can't use the same instruments of division against us in the resolution of this. We are really going to have to follow the golden rule.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you for the work you do, and thank you for being with us today. And we'll continue to pray that God will just continue to use you in a great way. And again, thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Pastor.
Hey, real quick, we're cutting, but I do have one quick question for you. Are you familiar with the product Cardio Miracle?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't reviewed it at all. So
I would love to send it to you and let's check it out. I'm a spokesman for them. It's a nitric oxide, product, and it's doing wonders. There's multiple heart doctors. I have a friend that played in the NFL. His heart was doing horrible. He started taking it. His cardiologist is now recommending it to every patient that comes through there.
Yeah, I mean, we've used L-arginine and nitric oxide for a long time, so it certainly has benefits.
Are you searching for financial wisdom rooted in timeless principles? Then look no further. Kirk Elliott Financial Wealth Advisor Firm is the best blend of biblical insights with expert financial guidance to navigate the stormy waters of an economic uncertainty. Kirk Elliott, renowned for his financial acumen, is your trusted guide through these turbulent times. With years of experience and a passion for biblical principles, Kirk brings clarity and purpose to every financial decision. Whether you're facing market fluctuation or seeking to align your wealth with your values, Kirk Elliott has the answers you need. No matter your background or experience, Kirk's approach is both approachable and effective. He'll help you understand how to protect your assets and make wise investments while staying true to your beliefs. When you go with Kirk Elliott, you can be confident that your finances are in capable hands. Just mention my name, Pastor Ben Graham, and they'll take care of you at his firm. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Tune in to the Kirk Elliott Financial Wealth Advisory Firm podcast and equip yourself with the tools to make informed decisions in today's unpredictable world. Embrace biblical finances and embark on a journey towards prosperity and financial peace of mind. Subscribe now to Real Talk with Pastor Ben Graham podcast and get ready to thrive amidst an economic uncertainty. Remember, when you go with Kirk Elliott, you're choosing financial wisdom rooted in biblical principles. Take the first step towards a brighter financial future today.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you so much. Man, what an amazing episode, and super impressive what Dr. McCullough is doing, and appreciate him so much in working so extensively on combating this. And he didn't take a popular route. Now, he's become a popular doctor because he's not because of just taking a stand, but because he was on the right side of this. He was on the side that is coming out to find out it made a lot of sense, because they didn't rush in to put something in their body that we didn't know anything about. And so I greatly appreciate Dr. McCullough being with us today. I hope that you'll go to his social media sites and follow him and check out his protocols and what he's doing. And I want to encourage you, listen, maybe you took the vaccine, maybe you didn't take the vaccine. I want to encourage you in this. If you did take it and you're concerned now, well, go and find these protocols that are working and make sure you take the proper treatment to combat that. Maybe you didn't take it. Maybe you were one that said, you know what, I just don't think this makes sense. Don't gloat in that. Don't be rude about it, but help other people that maybe they did take it. Help them find the right places, like Dr. Peter McCullough, who can help with that. We're seeing some great results with Cardio Miracle, one of our sponsors, who the nitric oxide has just been a great product in helping with people who've had the vaccine. And so I want to encourage you, help them find the right protocols that can help them with that. And I want to encourage you in this, just keep taking a stand. You know, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I think if anything, we could say that there is a big skepticism. Many people don't believe much of what the government's telling us these days. We're very skeptical. We wonder what's going to be next. What are they going to try to throw at us next? What are we going to face next? And I want to encourage you in this to do a couple things. One, open up God's word daily and read it. It will bring wisdom and guidance to your life. There's something about being in the word of God. But then secondly, spend some time praying every day. The third thing is I would encourage you to take some time to walk, to meditate, and reflect on what you've read in scripture and what God has spoke to you about. And then I want to encourage you also in this to spend some time with your family, not just in spending time with them, but talking about these things with your spouse, with your children, especially if your children still live at home. Talk about these things, educate them. The Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. We need to be knowledgeable about these things. And the reality is, so many of us don't know all these details. We don't have the research brain of a Peter McCullough, but we can look into some of the things that he's doing and others, and we can learn from them. We can get wisdom on this, and we can share this with others and help them along the way, because we know at some point something's going to come again. And maybe something comes out again, and maybe this time it's going to be a product that is good and works. Well, how will we know? It comes with research. It comes with understanding, knowing where is this coming from? Is it coming from a company that's all about money? Is it coming from a resource that is somebody that we can trust? And so these are the things that we study out and we learn so that we have knowledge about making the right decisions. Because at the end of the day, it's so important that we make the right choices so that we are putting into our bodies things that are healthy for us. Now, I know a lot of people who trash the vaccine because of how dangerous it is for your body, but then oftentimes you put many other unhealthy things in your body. And I want to encourage you in that. There's nothing wrong with splurging a little bit, maybe breaking the diet, but be wise with what you do. It's important that we remember our bodies is a living tabernacle unto God, and we are to be careful what we do. Yes, it's more important what we put in spiritually, but even physically and what we eat, what we put in our body is important. We need to be wise with that. We need to be wise with what God has entrusted us with. And we have one shot at this thing called life. And we don't live life just to be healthy, to live long. If you live to be 100, but you do nothing of great value with your life, it's in vain. If you live a short life, but you use it for God and to bring honor and glory to Him and help people and reach people and encourage people, then that life counts for something. And so, however long we live, and that's why we should try to be healthy and take care of the life God gives us, but however long we live, we need to make sure we're doing something that makes a difference. We need to do something that impacts, encourages, it helps people along the way. And so I want to encourage you in that. I want to challenge you in that. Listen, go to my website, pastorbengraham.com. If you haven't yet, sign up for the newsletter. We'd love to keep you in touch with what's going on. You can also find all of our social media accounts. You can find our YouTube channel. You can find out about our latest movies, my latest book that's getting ready to come out, and a whole lot more of information. You'll also see our schedule when we'll be speaking in an area near you. We would love to see you there. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you'll tune in for our next episode. Once again, thank you to our sponsors. God bless you guys. Have a great day.